Good morning, students. Today we are going to do the next part of the chapter. Now the topics which today we are going to cover are physiographic features of coastal plains, the island groups of India, difference between Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats, how physical features of India complement each other. Now you can see here the division of the coastal plains. They are divided into two parts, western coastal plains and eastern coastal plains. If you see in the map, you will see western coastal plains and eastern coastal plains. What are the western coastal plains, or where do they lie? Western coastal plains lie between Western Ghats and Arabian Sea. They lie between Western Ghats and Arabian Sea. And it is a narrow plain. It is a narrow plain. Coming to the next part, we have three divisions of the Western coastal plain. They are known by different names in different regions. They are called as Konkan Coast in the Mumbai to Goa, that is in Maharashtra we have Mumbai. Just below that you will see Goa. So from Mumbai to Goa, you will call these western coastal plains as Konkan Coast. Second part, below the Konkan Coast in Karnataka, it is called as Kannad Coast. You can see in the map, second map, which is given here. In the second map, it is shown that it is called as Kannad Coast. Third map, that is below Karnataka, we have Kerala state. In Kerala, western coastal plain is called as Malabar Coast. So I am repeating, in the western coastal plains are called by different names. In Mumbai and Goa, it is called as Konkan Coast. In central part, that is below Mumbai and Goa, we have Karnataka. There it is called as Kannad Coast, and extreme south in Kerala, it is called as Malabar Coast. Now coming to the eastern coastal plains, it lie between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. That is towards the southeast of India, we have Eastern Ghats. There they are between the Eastern Ghats and Bay of Bengal. Here, rivers that formed extensive deltas on this coast. In the eastern coastal plains, we have numerous number of deltas. Children, what is a delta? It is a triangular shaped land. It is a plain land formed due to the floodplains just before the mouth of the sea. That is a delta. It is in a triangular shape. And which rivers form the deltas? And deltas are also said to be very fertile because they are formed by the floodplains. The rivers which form the delta in the eastern coast are River Mahanadi, the Krishna, the Kaveri, and the Godavari rivers. And eastern coastal plain is also known by two different names. They are known by two different names. In the coastal part of Andhra Pradesh and Orissa, it is called as Northern Sirka. In the north, again I am repeating, in Andhra Pradesh and in Orissa coastal region, it is called as Northern Sirkar. And the southern part, that is in Tamil Nadu, the coastal region of Tamil Nadu, it is called as Coromandel Coast. We come to the further difference here, that is the next part over there. We have island groups of India. Children, we all know that there are two island groups of India which are part of our country. That is Andaman and Nicobar Island and Lakshadweep Islands. Now, where do these islands lie? Andaman and Nicobar Islands lie in Bay of Bengal in the southeast of India. And Lakshadweep Islands, they lie in the southwest part of India in Arabian Sea. Now let us see how are these islands formed. Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They lie close to the Coromandel coast in the Bay of Bengal. These islands are large in size and are numerous and scattered. Now these islands are large in size, and also there are many islands here, many large islands are there, and which are very scattered. Some of these islands are of volcanic origin, that means they are formed due to the volcanic eruptions. There is an island which is called as Barren Island, that is the only active volcano. In Barren Island, it is the only island where there is only active volcano. Now, these are the raised portion of submarine mountain ranges projecting out of the sea water. Now, what is an island? An island is a region which is surrounded by water on its all the sides. How is an island formed? When there is a, even in the water or the sea also there are volcanic eruptions. And when there are so many volcanic eruptions, millions of years, when that solidifies, that magma, when that solidifies, that lava, when the magma is formed, it becomes into a mountain. So that mountain projects out of the sea water. That is how it is formed. And capital of Andaman Nicobar Islands is Port Blair. Here there is equatorial climate. Now what is equatorial climate? Equatorial climate is near the equator. We see near the equator where there is, it is hot and humid climate. So because Andaman Nicobar, as we are going towards the south, you have studied in the first chapter that we are going towards the equator. Our extreme southern part is 8 degree 4 north latitudes. That means as we go down, we are closing to the equator. We are close to the equator. So we experience equatorial climate in Andaman Nicobar Islands, and it has a thick forest cover. So large amount of flora and fauna we can see in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. We have the next islands, that is Lakshadweep Islands. They lie close to the Malabar coast of Kerala in the Arabian Sea. How are these Lakshadweep Islands formed? They are formed of corals. Now, what is a coral? Coral is a microscopic organism. When it dies, it's the outer skin of the body that becomes very hard. Children, for example, you might have seen a tortoise. When the tortoise is sleeping, when it is not moving, you will see the outer part of the body. It is so hard, like a rock. Sometimes you mistake whether it is a rock or a tortoise. Same way, these corals are very minute microscopic organisms. And when they die, they are millions in number. When they die, their outer body becomes hard, and when these starts depositing for millions of years, it forms into a bigger rock kind of a thing which protrudes outside the sea. So that is how these Lakshadweep islands are formed. Capital of Lakshadweep Islands is Kavaratti. Here there is an island called as Piti Island, which has the bird sanctuary also. These islands also are thickly forested with lots of flora and fauna. I am giving you a small information which is not here. Earlier, these Lakshadweep islands were called by three different names. They were called as Laccadive, Minicoy, and Amendive. So there were three different names, three different islands in Lakshadweep only, the small islands. They are known by different names. But in 1973, all these were together named as Lakshadweep Islands. So that is about your islands, children. Andaman Islands and Andaman Nicobar Islands and Lakshadweep Islands. Now we come to a part of the chapter which we left earlier, that is difference between Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Let me remind you, children, Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats are part of Deccan Plateau. They form the southwestern edge of Deccan Plateau and southeastern edge of Deccan Plateau. So let us do the difference now. Western edge of the Deccan Plateau is the Western Ghat. The eastern edge of the Deccan Plateau is the Eastern Ghats. Western Ghats are parallel to the western coast along the Arabian Sea. Just now I have shown you the western coastal plain. So parallel to that western coastal plain, we have western coast. Same way, parallel to the eastern coast, we have Eastern Ghats. Third point, Western Ghats are continuous. That means there is no broken hills over there. They are continuous hills and they can be crossed only through passes. Children, what is a pass? It is a natural gap in mountains. So that is a natural pass. We have examples like Palghat, Bhorghat, etc. over here. Eastern Ghats, they are not continuous, so they are discontinuous. That means they are broken hills and also irregular. And now when they are irregular and discontinuous, they are dissected by the rivers. Many rivers, they are born in Western Ghats and they flow through Eastern Ghats and then they join Bay of Bengal. For example, the rivers like Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, these rivers, they are born in Western Ghats and they flow towards the Eastern Ghats and then they flow towards the eastern coastal plains and then they join the Bay of Bengal. There are two rivers, children, which flow towards the west. They are river Narmada and river Tapi. When I'll do the map work for this chapter, I will show you all these rivers also. Even we have one more chapter which has been deleted by the CBSE drainage, where we used to show these rivers, but I'll show you in this chapter also at the end of the chapter. So we have two rivers which are flowing towards the Western Ghats. They are born in central highlands, Narmada and Tapi. They flow towards the west and they join Arabian Sea. But most of these southern rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, all these rivers, they are born in Western Ghats and flow towards the east and join the Bay of Bengal. Coming to the Western Ghats, fourth point, they are higher in the south than in the north with an average height between 900 meters to 1600 meters. Children, we have done that. Plateaus, they do not have the mounted peaks, as well as they are not very high. Their altitude is not very high. So we can see that the peaks in the Western Ghats, their height is between 900 meters to 1600 meters. And the highest peak in Western Ghats is Anaimudi. Highest peak in Western Ghats is Anaimudi. Coming to the Eastern Ghats, fourth point, they are higher in the north with an average height of only 600 meters. And the highest peak in the Eastern Ghats is Mahendragiri with an height of 1501 meter. I hope children you have followed the difference between Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. Even you can see in the map the location of these Ghats, children. Eastern Ghats you can see in the yellow color, which is towards the east, parallel to the eastern coast, and Western Ghats you can see parallel to the west coast towards Arabian Sea. So even when you are marking in the map, you will mark in this way. Now we come to the last part of the chapter. This question generally, children, comes for 5 marks, because what we are going to do is, it's a kind of a summary of the chapter where we are going to summarize about all the physical features which we have done. So the question is asked here, how the physical features of India complement each other. When we see all these physical features, each feature is important to us. We cannot say that northern plains are not important, or plateau is not important, or Himalayas are not important, or islands are not important. Every feature has its unique features and they all are important for us. Let us start with the first one, Himalayas. They form the northernmost boundary of India. They are rich source of water. We know there are so many rivers which are born in the Himalayas. River Brahmaputra, River Indus, River Ganga, and they have lots of fauna and flora, that is forest resources. Himalayas also protect us from our enemies of the other countries. They are the borders of our northern India. And you will study in climate chapter. Himalayas also help us. Because of the Himalayas, we are not able to get the chilly winds which are blowing from the Mediterranean Sea. So that is how Himalayas are protecting us. Second, northern plains. It has a lot of fertile soil, that is alluvial soil, and they are called as granaries of our country because a large amount of crops are grown over here, and lot of industries are also located in the northern plains. Coming to the third, peninsular plateau. It is the source of mineral wealth. It is called as storehouse of minerals, peninsular plateau. So it is the source of mineral wealth, hence base of industrial development. So because lots of minerals are present here, peninsular plateau is a hub for the lots of industries. For example, a part of Jharkhand also is a part of the plateau region where we have so many industries. Coastal plains provide us sites for fishing and port activities. We all know that our export and import takes place through a lot through the water, because water is the cheapest means of transportation for transporting very heavy goods. So we have lots of port activities here, and also there are sites for fishing. Next, island groups of our country. They have unique diversity of flora and fauna. They consist of large amount of forests. They're covered with thick forests. So we have large amount of flora and fauna found in these island regions, and they are also a tourist spot, including even the Himalayas. A large amount of the valleys in the Himalayas are the tourist spots. Same way, even the islands are the tourist spots. And we end up here saying that none of these regions can exist without the other. So all are dependent on each other. We cannot just have only the mountains, then we will not have granaries, we will not have minerals. So we need all the physical features. So that is why we call India as a unique country where we have all the features, all the physical features. And children, that completes the chapter, Physical Features of India. In the next class, I will be revising the whole chapter, but that revision will be from your NCERT book. So many children have the old books, some have the new books, and there some contents have been changed in the new book. So when I'll do the revision, I'll take the revision online, and there will be a thorough revision of the textbook. So I hope you have followed this, children, and we'll do map work also in the next class. So have a good day, students.